The first races for transgender swimmers have been scrapped after no entries were received. It was supposed to take place at the World Cup in Berlin.
So no trans athletes showed up to compete in the newly established open category that allows anyone to compete regardless of gender? Let's talk about it. So back in 2020, the governing body of swimming called World Aquatics banned biological men or trans women who went through male puberty from competing in the women's category.
The new policy that effectively bans transgender women from competing in women's swimming events. Juju Chang is here with more. And Juju, this goes into effect starting, this morning?
Absolutely, Robin. Good morning to you. And this is by far the toughest restriction against transgender athletes. Swimming's international governing board saying they consulted with scientists and policymakers and voted to essentially ban trans swimmers from elite competitions, including the Olympics, unless they medically transition before age 12. Some see it as a triumph of fairness or equity, while others see it as a blow to inclusion.
Now, trans women could compete in the men's category because the men's category is open to everyone, men or women. See, the category that is limited is the women's category because biological men have advantages over biological women. So to accommodate trans women, the governing body of swimming opened up an open category to allow trans women or biological men to compete with women or anyone else who wanted to compete in this category.
New plans tonight in the world of swimming, with the organization overseeing that internationally, announcing plans for an open category for trans athletes to participate in. But this comes with some controversy since not everybody thinks it's the right approach. The president of World Aquatics saying today it's a complex topic, but that swimming must be open to everybody. Remember, it was only last year when World Aquatics banned trans athletes from big events. Now, this open category would give them a chance to get back in big competitions.
Now, as the Fox News article states, to be eligible, swimmers need an affiliation with a national federation and will be given the flexibility to participate individually for their clubs, teams, or as a national federation member, the organization says. So you can compete. It doesn't matter what you identify with or whatever. If you want to compete on the world stage, here you go. Gender would be irrelevant in this category. So Leah Thompson, for example, could win her world championship, just not in the women's category. Now, World Aquatics is not the first and only governing body of sports to limit biological men competing with women. Other governing bodies for sports have also made the move to ban biological men from women's sports, like World Athletics. They are the governing body for track and field.
The council has agreed to exclude male to female transgender athletes who have been through male puberty from female world ranking competitions from March the 31st this year. However, in order to do further research into our transgender eligibility guidelines, we will be establishing a working group whose remit will be to consult specifically with transgender athletes to seek views on competing in athletics, to review and maybe commission additional research where there is currently limited research, and to put forward recommendations to council. The working group will include an independent chair, up to 3 council members, 2 athletes from the Athletes Commission, a transgender athlete from athletics, 3 representatives of our member federations, and representatives of the World Athletics Health and Science Department. The majority of those consulted stated that transgender athletes should not be competing in the female category. Many believe there is insufficient evidence that trans women do not retain advantage over biological women, and more evidence than any physical advantages have been ameliorated before they are willing to consider an option for inclusion into the female category. Where the science is insufficient to justify maintaining testosterone suppression for transgender athletes, the council agreed it must be guided by our overarching principle, which is to protect the female category.
Now, trans advocates are saying that an open category, by definition, is exclusive. Here's their argument.
Yeah, they're saying that creating a division for trans athletes and non-binary athletes to compete is actually the opposite of inclusive. They're saying it's exclusive, and they're saying it furthers stigmas. I want to read you a statement that we got from Athlete Ally. It's a group that advocates for LGBTQ athletes. They say this policy does nothing to provide the kind of protections to women athletes that they have been calling for decades. Instead, this only increases hostile gender norms and invasive testing that hurt all women athletes.
Now, the reason this is happening is because trans women have all the benefits of a male body. Men are faster and stronger on average than women. Here's an example. The fastest woman to run the 100-meter dash is FloJo. She ran the 100-meter dash in 10.49 seconds, a record that has stood for over 30 years. Now, her world record time would rank 7,000th amongst the men. Matter of fact, her 30-plus year world record has already been shattered by high school boys. Here is a high school boy breaking FloJo's world record time, the one that stood for over 3 decades, by a half second. Now, the fact is, the fastest woman ever to run the 100-meter dash in the world would not be able to compete for a medal in a men's high school track meet. Now, this should tell you all you need to know. So, World Aquatics, understanding this, made the choice to create the open category for transgendered women. So, transgendered women could compete at the highest levels, but this is what happened when World Aquatics set everything up and now allowed them to compete.
The first races for transgender swimmers have been scrapped after no entries were received. It was supposed to take place at the World Cup in Berlin. Former NCAA swimmer Caitlin Wheeler joins me now. Let me see if I've got this right, Caitlin. They have these swim meet. They have a special category for trans athletes, and nobody showed up. I think I've got that right. You tell me what that tells you.
Of course they failed to get entries in for the meet. What man wouldn't want to compete against other men when they compete in the women's sports and dominate? I mean, men have larger heart muscles, they have higher bone density, they have higher testosterone levels, giving them an advantage. Let's look at what happened in Maine. There was a 16-year-old male who was ranked 172nd in the men's and started competing in the women's and is now ranked 4th. This just shows that there is an unfair advantage here. You know, they're not here to make it fair, they're here to dominate.
But I mean, one of the solutions to this problem was that you have a special category where trans athletes compete amongst themselves. That doesn't work, does it?
No, it doesn't. It's not going to be satisfactory. They don't want a third category. That's not going to satisfy what they're looking for. Men want to invade women's sports. They're erasing women and destroying women's sports. Having a third category isn't going to solve anything at all.
What is the solution?
The solution is what we've always been doing, having a men's and women's category. It's about calling out these fantasies and these delusions and not affirming them. We're doing the opposite of standing up for truth. If we're affirming fantasies and not standing up for what's right anymore, we should have men's and women's sports. We've always had them, and we've always had them for a reason ever since Title IX was in place.
So what is the answer here? Should trans women, biological men, be able to just compete in women's sports? Now, I personally say no. The reality is that trans women are at an advantage over biological women. Unless there's a way to reverse all those advantages gained through puberty, which right now science says there aren't, then I have to be against it. And I'm not alone. 7 out of 10 Americans agree with me. Now, some are going to say, hey, Nate, you're a bigot. You're a bigot because you don't want to allow trans women to compete with biological women. Now, if that's the case, then having women's sports in amongst itself is bigotry, since men are the ones excluded from those categories. The reality of the situation is this is a complicated issue that can't be solved with just let them compete against the women, because we understand the reason why we segregate the genders in sports is because of the biological advantages obtained during puberty. No one is denying that. But to deny that trans women who are biological men have that advantage is denying reality. And again, I deal with facts over feelings. So tell me where I'm wrong in the comment section. If you think that I am wrong, let me know, because I don't want to be deaf, dumb, and blind. I think I have science and reality on my side in this argument, but I am open to being convinced that I'm wrong. Don't forget, like, share, subscribe, do all that great YouTube stuff. You want to see this video before it comes out on YouTube, check it out on Locals or become a member. My name is Nate the Lawyer, and I'll see you next time. Peace.